Hey friends, welcome to the 11th episode of Walking with the Himalayan Master. I am Jitendra Choithani and thank you for being there till 11th episode. Today is 11th January and this happens to be my birthday. Thank you very much for the wishes. If you want to wish, you can wish me. Let's start with today's chapter. We are reading Building an Institute, and today we have Midwestern Visits. During a powerful weekend seminar in Colorado, a strange event occurred. While Swamiji was lecturing on meditation, he suddenly paused, turned his head sharply, and shouted with anger, "Why are you speaking about me that way? Why are you saying those things?" He then seemed to remember his talk, and although visibly upset, he went on with the topic. The audience was not aware that as Swamiji was speaking in another part of the city, a well-known female spiritual teacher and psychic were discouraging her audience from going to meet this phony Eastern fakir. When the woman and her husband entered their residence later that evening, they smelled a terribly offensive odor that pervaded all the rooms of their home. Searching throughout the house but unable to find the odor's origin, they were forced to leave the premises and stay at a hotel. The next day, the odor seemed even stronger and more repugnant. Several local janitorial services were dumbfounded trying to find the cause of the odor. A day later, it began to dawn upon the couple that perhaps their disparaging remarks against Swami Rama may have a connection to this event. So they contacted Swamiji and formally apologized. Immediately after this conversation, the mysterious odor vanished. All that Swamiji would say was, "I have devas, spirit helpers, who protect me sometimes in curious ways." That weekend in Colorado, Swamiji met a businessman named Howard Judd, who became his student and invited him to Minneapolis. So Swamiji went there. Among the first two students in Minnesota were Charles Bates, a fine artist, Usher Buddha Arya, a professor of Sanskrit at the University of Minnesota, Phil Neuenberger, a psychologist in clinical practice, and Prakash Keshavia, a research scientist. These four were later instructed by Swamiji in mantra science and were made mantra initiators in the tradition of the Himalayan sages. Swamiji impressed upon the class that it wasn't individuals but the tradition itself that powered the mantras. He also inspired Dr. Arya and Charles Bates to open yoga meditation centers to carry on his tradition. Charles and I met at a weekend seminar in Chicago. As we came to know one another, he told me of his meeting with Swamiji. "I met Swamiji shortly after he came to the Twin Cities in the autumn of 1969, said Charles. "I was studying in the Minneapolis Institute of Art and learned of his lectures through a television interview. I was skeptical of the value of yoga, thinking yogis were milk toast, even though I had heard of Swamiji's incredible experiments. After I met him, he asked me to be his secretary whenever he came to Minneapolis. By that time in my life, I had tasted the hypocrisy of religion and so-called spiritualities and wanted no part of more. But as I continued listening to and observing this man at close range, I reluctantly realized what was different about him. 'I don't like you,' I told him at the beginning, still suspicious of him, 'but you speak truth.' One night, Swamiji told me that he would soon meet a professor of Sanskrit who would test him during dinner at his house and then become his student. A short time later, I noticed that a Professor Arya was introducing Swamiji at the lecture, so I presumed the testing was over. As time went on, in spite of my doubts, Swamiji led me to see that there are genuine paths to human excellence, and I became excited with the possibilities. He asked me if I wanted to be a priest, pandit, or a yogi. I replied, "Both, just like you." He laughed and agreed that it would happen. "You will become a yogi and teach yoga." He told me, "You are a great teacher, and I will announce this to everyone and force you to be." So, 4 years later, it all came true when he introduced me on the stage at the Kanpur Yoga Conference, just as he had prophesied. I earnestly followed his recommendations, obtaining certificates in Hatha and Raja Yoga. When he told me he had done the yoga cleansing called the upper wash for several years, I began doing it daily. After 2 years, my serious asthma condition was completely healed, and I decided that I would practice yoga my entire life. Yes, friends, this is really true. If you include yoga in your life, a lot of Vata, Pitta, Kapha dosha are reduced. Even I have experienced it. Like, I was practicing yoga for a few months and I lost like 5 kgs of weight without like going to gym and other things that other people are carrying out. So stay blessed, friends, and have a very good week ahead. Thank you. Bye-bye.